Stop! In the name of the glue gun, I'm going to show you how you can make your own DIY stencils at home with the glue gun. Let's hop over and check it out.
All right, so I've got my glue stick here. It's already heated up, and I've got several glue guns off, not glue guns, several glue sticks off to the side because we will be using a lot of glue, and so will you if you do this. I'm working off of a non-stick mat. You can grab a baking mat, anything like that will work, anything that's non-slip so this doesn't stick, and I'm creating my frame. The only thing you want to keep in mind when you make your own little DIY stencils at home with a glue gun is to make sure that the glue kind of attaches to each other. So that's why I created a little frame here, and now I'm creating little stripes. So the thinner you are, the more delicate it's going to be. So I try to, make it kind of thick, but not like so thick where it's like ugly. But then I'm basically just creating stripes. And this is cool because you can have no artistic skill whatsoever. I'm just literally putting lines of glue down. I keep adding glue sticks. You'll see here, I'm like loading my glue stick here. And anyway, that's all you do. You just want to make sure that they connect at some point and that they're not so thin that they're super delicate, because you want to use them as stencils, so you want to have multiple uses out of them. And if you take care of them and if you make them correctly, these will last you quite a long time. So I'm just going in and making sure it's all connected. And when I go to lift this up, I'll find that one part wasn't connected, so I'll show you what I do there. So once I'm happy with the thickness and just kind of going over here and eyeballing it and just making sure all the glue is connected at some point around that frame, so when we pick it up, it's all going to peel up as one piece and not a bunch of little lines. While that's drying, which by the way, it takes a minute to dry, I'm just adding little squiggle lines off to the side. Anything you can think of to do, I'm just winging it. You can totally run with this. I just wanted to show you the basis of how to use your glue gun to create some backgrounds here. So when this was dry, I started to peel it up and I saw that one of the lines was too thin. So when I started to peel it up, I could see that it kind of broke apart, and I don't want a bunch of little lines. I want these all connected. So it's very easy. Just place it back down onto your surface, grab your glue gun, and then just add a little bit more, to fill in that little gap that somehow got in there. It might happen, and let it dry. That's it. Easy peasy fix. While that is drying, let me show you some of the other things I created off camera. Go wild, go crazy. So here's a little grid, checkerboard, burlap, whatever you want to call it, right? It's all with the hot glue gun, people. All with the hot glue gun. These are little wonky hearts. Somehow I got paint peeled up on there. My bad. Oh well. Adds to the design. And let's see, this is just basically I scribbled onto the mat, just making sure, again, everything somehow connects. That's like a spider web sort of thing. I don't know. I don't know. These are just very, very organic little scribbles that I did on the mat. This was actually something that didn't work out, but I'm going to keep it because I can use it for designs and stuff. And I'm going to very quickly go over the ways I use these DIY stencils with the glue gun in just a second. But once that glue is dry, again, maybe a minute, it doesn't take long for glue to harden. You peel it up and now you've got your beautiful stripe stencil. So this is a visual journal I've had in my stash for ages. I'm actually going to use it. So I've got my little stripe stencil down on one side. It's just like mixed media paper. It's just heavier paper than cardstock. I actually pulled out my distress spray stains and oxides, and I'm just gonna, I haven't used these since I've lived in this house, which is 2 years. Anyway, do some spraying. Spraying is obviously very easy to use with stencils, but you may not have sprays, so hold on a second, I'll show you what to do. So I'm just choosing colors that complement each other, that when they do mix together, they don't turn muddy. So I was very careful not to put the purple and the yellow next to each other, unless you want to get a brown. And then for using them with ink pads, you'd want to dab it. Do a little dabbing. Let me slow this down. If you try to blend on there in circular motions, your stencil's going to shift because it's not flat, it's glue. So just do some dabbing and you can get really cool texture as you're dabbing. Let's see, what else can we do here? You can also wet the ink that's actually on the glue stencil and press it onto your project. Just like you're stamping with the stencil, you're stamping with your glue stencil. Glue stencil, that sounds so funny. So anyway, you can do that and press it on various parts of your project to get something fun and cool. So what I'm going to do here, I'll lift up that stencil so you can see really how cool those stripes are. They're just like wonky and cool and artsy, and you made them with glue. So I went into my, I don't know why, I should have just pulled out some regular cardstock, but I went into my background bin, and these are all backgrounds that I never turned into anything, and I'm just kind of pulling some out just to show you some things you can do with them. These aren't necessarily going to match or look really good, but I wanted to show you what you can do in different ways to use these DIY glue stencils that you just made. So this is a watercolor background I never finished. I'm going to take this little plaid burlapish stencil. It's already got some of that blue ink on it still. I didn't wash any of these off. When I'm done, you just run them under water and they just rinse right off. But I'm going to spray some pumice stone distress spray stain onto it, and then I'm basically going to press various parts of that glue stencil. And I think it makes for a really fun, just organic background. It's kind of a swing on the water flicks, except you're doing it with a stencil and you're getting lines instead of flicks. You can do the same thing with another panel here. I'm spraying through it this time. I actually placed it down and then sprayed through it, and you're left with something really cool. So again, you can use these glue stencils the same way that you use regular stencils, with the exception of when you're ink blending. You don't want to go in circular motions. You just want to pounce. So you can ink blend through them with your ink pads. You can use sprays. You can use watercolors. You can smush your ink pads onto your surface and water it down. And in this case, I'm taking the stencil and pressing the stencil into the watercolor we just created and then kind of pressing it onto the card base. And you'll get really cool a look because you're getting very saturated parts of that DIY glue stencil. So anyway, there's multiple ways you can use it. The sky's the limit with your creativity. Just get a hot glue gun, some glue sticks, and some kind of non-slip mat, and go to town and show me what you make. If you make any DIY glue stencils, use the hashtag Laurel Glue Stencils when you share it in social media so I can go find it. I want to see. Thanks for watching, you guys.